Daytona Cobra Coupe, in my opinion, was one of the most beautiful cars ever built. And it was built during a time of grand touring racing, GT racing, when there were a lot of beautiful cars out there. The Ferrari GTO, the Aston Martin Project 214 car, the E-Type Jaguar, um, and the Porsche 914, of course. And there were a lot of beautiful cars out there. So they were all competing together. It was kind of a golden era of grand touring racing in 1964 and 65, 63.
And what specific things come to mind when you think about the Daytona Cobra Coupe?
Well, things that come to mind were all of the work that went into the car to build it. The car was built really in about 90 days, which that was from concept to the time that it was running, and you don't often see things like that done anymore. Even with all the modern CAD equipment, I'm not sure that it could be done today. We started that car, as I remember, in late October 1963, and it was completed from the ground up. That included designing, building a buck, uh, shaping all the body panels, uh, doing all the work on it. It was designed as we went along and changed, and all that work was done as we.
Sorry, go ahead and take a sip of water. If you need to take a break, just find a good place to pause, and
Okay.
that's not a problem.
All that work was done in the Shelby shop in Venice, California, and the guys that worked on it worked about 24 hours a day to get it done. And the car was completed and running by the end of January 1964. So from the end of October till the end of January, um, including the holiday season, didn't leave very much time to get that thing built. It was quite an achievement by the guys who built it.
What was the reasoning behind the rush? Were they trying to get it prepared for the?
Trying to get it prepared to run at Daytona in 1964 to debut there, and that's why it was called the Daytona Cobra Coupe. That was actually Shelby that came up with that, and he named it the Daytona Cobra Coupe in honor of its initial race at Daytona.
Why was this car made? Was there a purpose? Was it to challenge a certain other car? Why was this particular car made?
There's a very good reason why this car was built. The Cobra Roadster on high-speed tracks like they had in Europe and Daytona ran into a brick wall at about 160 miles an hour aerodynamically. So they needed something in order to compete in Europe on the high-speed courses because, Le Mans, Spa, Belgium, they're 8-9 miles long, and they're all high speed. They're nothing but a high-speed contest. And therefore, you needed something that could run fast and run for a long time. And so they decided that they needed a new body on this car because the old one just wasn't going to cut it. So that was when Carroll Shelby decided to ask Peter Brock, who was working for us at the time, to come up with a concept to build this car. And Peter came up with some stylized drawings of a car, which weren't used because Peter had designed something that was very far years ahead of its time, but didn't apply to the rules that were in force at that time. So it couldn't be used. So we went back and basically Peter and John Olson and Phil Remington and John Collins and Don Allen and Ken Miles designed this car as it went along. And the plans for the car were done after the fact.
That's interesting. You mentioned it was built as a car that could go fast for long periods of time. So I guess one of the words that would describe it as a durable car. It was a durable car.
It was quite durable. We were still working with the same antiquated suspension that we had. We didn't change that, couldn't change that by the rules. But the rules did provide there was a way that you could change the body, but not the rest of it. So we had to abide by what we had, which did limit us on several occasions.
Okay.
That chair is,
Squeaky, huh?
yeah. I wonder if we can, without a height complete difference, put in one of those driver's chairs.
You're okay. I obviously.
Am I
can't hold
squeaking?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm trying not to.
That's all right.
I know.
Just do your
It's the
best.
chair.
Do your
It's
best.
not you.
Yeah, it's not your fault.
Glue me down and I won't move.
That's great. You speeding again? Mm-hmm. Great. David, tell us about, you obviously mentioned a list of the people involved, but tell us about Carroll Shelby and I guess his work on this car and his vision, I guess.
Well, Carroll Shelby was the vision. Without him, there wouldn't have been any car, and we wouldn't be sitting here today talking about this. He was a driving force behind the whole thing, and Carroll's greatest attribute was he was one hell of a salesman. And he talked people into giving us things that they should never have given us. And his probably, other than being a salesman, his greatest attribute was being able to choose the right people to do the right job. He had a feeling for people, and he could get the right person to do the right job, and he was never wrong about it. And when he hired you, he let you run with the ball, which was kind of nice. He didn't stand over your shoulder and make sure you did it right. He knew it was going to be right.
Let's see, I guess the design of the car, the look of the car with the long front end and the short and abbreviated rear end. Any reason that you know why that was chosen? Was it? It obviously was something new design.
Well, it was aerodynamics. It was aerodynamically functional at that time. I mean, they didn't have the kind of wind tunnel equipment and the type of testing that they have now for aerodynamics. And everybody at that time was really fishing in the dark. And it was almost like you built it on the wing. You tried this, and if this didn't work, well, you nailed something else onto it. And that happened because originally the coupe was designed without a spoiler. And on several tracks, a spoiler was needed, so they designed one on the fly and tacked it on there. And it worked, so then it was incorporated in the design and used.
Good. What else do we want to say here? You took us through the construction. You said everything was pretty much done on the fly. Were there surprises along the way? What were those? What else took place during the construction of the car?
We didn't have time for surprises because we were under such a time constraint. And literally, like I say, they started this car, they decided to build it in late October, and literally from a clean sheet of paper, they took a wreck Cobra and built the buck up over that. You've seen that, I think, in the Cobra Coupe book. They built the buck up over that, and then they did the sheet metal work down at Cal Metal Shaping, and they didn't have time for surprises because to get that one car done, we just, it had to be right whether it was right the first time, and then we'd change it later. And there were some things that were wrong with it initially that had to be changed. We had heating problems in the car. Drivers were getting very hot, and we changed that as it went along. And there were just a number of things, but most of it had to be done on the fly because of the racing schedule.
Okay. Let's see. We have a photograph of that you took of the car at Riverside during the testing runs without.
Where are
I
they?
think it's right here.
Well, by the time the car was
I'm sorry.
sorry,
Go ahead.
by the time the car was ready to test at Riverside, we were very close to the time that it was supposed to be shipped to Daytona. And the initial test there was done with Ken Miles and Bob Bondurant. And the idea of that was just to shake the car down and see if it worked. Well, it worked beyond everybody's imagination, and everything, all the guys really got pumped up because all along people looked at the car like, well, this is a folly, it ain't gonna work. But after that initial test and the speeds that were achieved at Riverside and along straightaway, most people started realizing, hey, maybe this thing will work. And I know there was one test, and some people believe there might have been a second one, but I don't remember a second one. I was present at the first one, and the car, as I say, performed beyond anybody's expectation. There were a few minor problems, but literally the car was run and literally painted and packed up and sent to Daytona.
We were talking earlier. Did the folks involved in building this car know that it was going to be a champion, a great champion as it is?
Well, that's an interesting question. The guys who built the car believed in the car. At that time, Shelby American had a small shop in Venice. We were very cramped for space. And they had guys working on all these different projects. So the guys who worked on the Cobra Coupe, basically, were pulled off other projects. John Olson came to work with us, and he was put right onto the Cobra Coupe project. He, more than anybody else, was responsible for the car. He literally built it by hand himself. I mean, yes, there were a lot of other guys who contributed to it, but he was the one who was in charge, was on it from start to finish, along with, I believe, John Collins was on it from start to finish. Don Allen came and went on the project. He was working on a number of things, as were the guys. Nobody worked on any one thing. They all worked on various projects. But basically, John and John were on it from start to finish.
Before I get too far, I just want to have you just tell us what your role was with the car, just so that it's established that you were what the foot.
Well, what I did on that project was basically I recorded the project, building the construction of the project. I went over every day, took photographs. There are many photographs that look the same, except you'll see a little something different, not much, but a little something. And I literally worked on it every day, in a much different way than the guys who were building it, obviously. But I watched it literally go together from the day that we first measured it up and started with a bare chassis until the car ran at Daytona.